to the car, okay? Just look, just keep on going. Keep going straight. Okay?
All right.
All right?
Come on, man. Just follow back behind us.
While Karmelo Anthony's family spends their time trying to persuade public opinion into sympathizing with them, seeing them as the victim, well, looks like that ain't gonna do much.
Austin Metcalf's stabbing by Karmelo Anthony was never in question. Everybody knew that part. But what just popped up in his parents' financial records? That's the kind of twist you'd expect in a crime movie. Investigators stumbled on something wild, a mysterious $100,000 payment made just days before the murder, and no one knew who sent it. This wasn't spotted right away either. The money trail was buried under layers of Anton's mother's business accounts, like someone went out of their way to hide it. It all started unraveling when the IRS noticed some strange movements in the accounts and flagged it to federal investigators. Prosecutors now claim the money went through a shady LLC to a known associate of one of the school employees working at the track meet on the very night of the stabbing. Here's where it gets even more chilling. The account that got the money deleted only 15 minutes after Austin's stabbing was reported.
There was this kid, before I knew his name now, this kid was sitting under our tent at the track. We asked him to move. He started getting aggressive and talking reckless. And my brother stepped in and said, "You need to move." And he's like, "Make me move." Austin grabbed his backpack. The kid, I tried to whip around as fast as I could, but I didn't see the stab.
And get this, the transfer was stamped exactly 72 hours before Austin's death. Law enforcement says both of Karmelo's parents have now been officially charged with conspiracy and financial facilitation connected to the murder case. The indictment doesn't spell out exactly how that $100,000 was spent, but the hint is loud and clear. This wasn't some random outburst from a troubled teen. This feels planned, funded, and maybe even pushed along. The Metcalf family, who've been mostly silent since the tragedy, broke their silence through their lawyer, saying, "The payment is proof Austin was targeted," and they're demanding every single financial move by the Anthony family before the attack be made public. Karmelo's actions aren't the only thing under the microscope anymore. Now it's about who may have set the stage for him and what secrets they've been hiding in the shadows. That shocking $100,000 payment has turned this from a local tragedy into a full-on federal hunt, with investigators tracking the Anthony family's every single move in the days before Austin Metcalf lost his life. This case is snowballing fast. Subpoenas are pulling in phone records, cell tower pings, and hours of surveillance footage. And what's coming out paints a picture way darker than anyone could have imagined. Just 4 days before the stabbing, Karmelo's parents met with two unnamed figures inside a private office building, court records say. The kicker?
So Judge John Roach has put in a gag order where nobody associated with either side of this Karmelo Anthony case can speak. Not advocates, not friends, family, witnesses, anybody. Nobody can talk about the case.
That building was leased by a shell company owned by Karmelo's father, a company that hadn't done a lick of business in over a year, until that week. Inside sources are now saying the payment went out soon after that secret meeting. And if that's not enough to raise eyebrows, Karmelo's mother was on a spree of encrypted calls and messages the night before the stabbing, right when the cash was pulled. The recipients haven't been revealed, but the timing is impossible to ignore. Now, the FBI and state prosecutors are digging to see if this money could qualify as premeditated facilitation, a legal gray zone that could bump both parents' charges straight up to first-degree murder conspiracy. If prosecutors can prove intent, the stakes skyrocket. We're talking life in prison with no chance of release. That's why activists and the Metcalf family keep asking the same burning question. Why did it take this long for the money trail to come out? Pressure is now crushing local officials, and people are demanding answers, especially about why Karmelo's parents have stayed completely silent if they truly had nothing to hide. The paper trail is shouting while the courtroom stays ice cold. Inside the courtroom, the tension is thick enough to cut with a knife. Gasps rippled through the gallery when prosecutors laid out the chilling $100,000 payment timeline, and jaws dropped when they revealed the cash was tied to a private account under Karmelo Anthony's father's name. Even worse, that money wasn't just yanked out in one go, it was pulled in separate chunks over a 36-hour window. Forensic accountants brought in by the state confirmed that one huge withdrawal hit just 18 hours before Austin Metcalf's death.
You wonder now if that will ever happen because of what he allegedly did next on April 2nd. That day, Karmelo Anthony and Austin Metcalf got into a confrontation under the tent. According to witnesses, Metcalf told Anthony to leave the team's tent, and at that point, Anthony allegedly reached into his backpack and said something along the lines of "make me." Here's what Austin's twin brother told WFAA-TV.
And it's not just the timing that's raising eyebrows. Records show the money was funneled into an unregistered digital wallet through a well-known cryptocurrency mixing service, the kind criminals often use to erase their tracks. Prosecutors say this move is exactly how the family kept the payment buried until federal subpoenas blew the lid off their digital footprint. The most damning twist, that same wallet was later accessed from an IP address only a few blocks from the stadium where the track meet, and the stabbing happened. The Anthony family's legal team is scrambling. In a public statement, they insisted the money was part of a private family business deal unrelated to the case and brushed off the state's claims as purely circumstantial. But according to one FBI insider, investigators aren't buying it unless they got something to hide. Nobody just casually funnels six figures through a crypto mixer. That's not a normal move. And now a new witness has stepped forward. A stadium worker who says they saw Karmelo's father pacing outside the venue during the track meet, clutching a phone and looking visibly nervous. Back then, his presence didn't seem important. But with everything we know now, it's being looked at under a whole new light. In court, the Metcalf family sat silently, watching as each fresh reveal pushed the case closer to what they've believed from day one, that this wasn't some random burst of teenage anger, but a carefully executed plan wrapped in layers of cover-up. Then came the gut punch moment. The courtroom projector lit up with surveillance footage from a gas station right outside the stadium, time-stamped the night before the stabbing. The video shows Karmelo Anthony's mother walking in with an unidentified man. Prosecutors now claim he's a well-known middleman who specializes in cleaning large amounts of questionable cash, breaking it into smaller, untraceable streams. In the footage, she can be seen handing him a white envelope. Minutes later, that same man is caught outside using a burner phone. What was inside the envelope can't be seen, but 4 hours before Austin Metcalf's death, phone records show Karmelo was in contact with that very same burner number. Prosecutors now have a name for this chain: the triangle of intent. Mother to middleman, middleman to burner phone to Karmelo. And if they can prove that connection,
I asked the grand jury to return a first-degree murder indictment against Karmelo Anthony, which they did.
A Texas district attorney taking to social media to announce Karmelo Anthony is formally facing charges that could lock him up for life.
the Anthony family's defense could crumble right in front of them. Prosecutors are using every scrap of evidence to paint a picture of cold, calculated planning, saying Karmelo's parents weren't just bystanders, but were actively moving money, making key phone calls, and building digital smokescreens, all while knowing exactly what might go down. But the defense isn't rolling over. They insist the video shows nothing illegal, claiming the man seen with Karmelo's mother was actually hired for private security after the family received threats. During cross-examination, the defense attorney shouted, "This is a grieving family being dragged through digital mud." The public, though, they're not buying it. Online, side-by-side screenshots of the gas station footage and a chart showing the $100,000 money trail exploded across social media. One viral tweet bluntly read, "This was never random." For those following the case closely, the idea that Karmelo acted completely alone is getting harder and harder to believe. By the afternoon, the Metcalf family quietly left court, the mood heavy. What once looked like an open and shut case is now twisting into something darker, something deliberate. The courtroom stayed tense, eyes down, no contact, just silent determination. Then another bombshell dropped. The prosecution revealed a batch of encrypted messages pulled from Karmelo's father's phone, seized just days earlier. The texts were sent only 36 hours before Austin Metcalf's death through a secure messaging app. Forensic experts read them aloud. One said, "Funds cleared." Another read, "Isolate, no trail." And then came, "Everything happens quickly." Those aren't the kind of messages you'd expect from a devastated parent or from someone only focused on protecting their son's legal future.
Fair trial. You don't necessarily want the jury or the possible jurors to be influenced by outside conversation, news, media outlets, articles, you name it.
And in that moment, The courtroom felt like it had stopped breathing. These aren't the words of someone grieving. They sound like cold, calculated logistics being handled under pressure. And the most chilling part? The timestamps land dangerously close to the exact moment of the murder. Testimony from the FBI's Digital Crime Unit revealed that the $100,000 payment was instantly routed to a person whose identity is still hidden under a court-issued protective order. From there, the money was split between two untraceable accounts. Whispers in the courthouse suggest this mysterious figure was near the scene that night, likely in the parking lot just outside the track meet. By this point, the prosecution's theory had shifted. They weren't just alleging a sloppy parental cover-up anymore. Now they believed this was a deliberate operation to keep a situation from blowing up publicly. And here's the twist. Prosecutors are floating the idea that Karmelo might have been manipulated into committing the act, with his parents already prepared to foot the bill, legally and financially. Outside, tensions boiled over. A small crowd split down the middle, half shouting in support of the Anthonys, the other half rallying behind the Metcalfs. What once looked like a simple case of teen violence is mutating into a tangled web of burner phones, hidden money, and cryptic digital breadcrumbs. The whispers are growing louder. Could this have been a murder for hire? Inside the courtroom, the real shock isn't just the evidence. It's the stone-faced calm on Karmelo's parents. No tears, no panic, just the look of people who seem to have rehearsed this moment over and over. Then came the gut punch. Federal agents confirmed the existence of a shell company registered in Karmelo's mother's name just months before the killing. The air in the courtroom tightened instantly. Prosecutors laid it out plain. This so-called business moved exactly $100,000 into a dormant account, all while posing as a non-profit on the very night Austin Metcalf was killed. And according to insiders, that same account was pinging near the stadium during the track meet. The truth?
Another athlete who wasn't on Metcalf's team stood under the tent. His name was Karmelo Anthony.
Karmelo Anthony, class of 2025, Centennial High School, Frisco, Texas.
That's video of Anthony mic'd up for a football tournament for Carolina Sports District that we found on YouTube.
This company never did any real business. No staff, no services, no public presence, just one payout, one transfer, and one life lost. The timeline is as damning as it gets. 2 days before the murder, the payment was cleared. 1 day before, the cash was withdrawn. 3 hours after Karmelo's arrest, the account was shut down completely. It's a pattern the defense can't easily explain away. The media has shifted its spotlight. This is no longer about a teenage athlete's crime. The focus is now on the power plays and hidden dealings inside Karmelo's home. The story of a high school fight spiraling out of control has been replaced by a deeper narrative, one of secret corruption, shattered morals, and a system that might have enabled violence instead of stopping it. In the front row, the Metcalf family sits, visibly shaken, watching their son's memory become a bargaining chip in a legal game they never imagined could go this far. And behind them, the whole country is watching, realizing this isn't about sports fame or family reputation anymore. It's about justice for a boy stabbed in a tent, and uncovering just how far some people were willing to go to keep the truth buried. You could feel it in the air. The tension was thick, the end was closing in. And for their final blow, the prosecution didn't hold back. They revealed a voicemail Karmelo's father left on an encrypted app, time-stamped just 4 hours before the stabbing. His voice was calm, deliberate. Everything is prepared. Simply use common sense. You are aware of the stakes. The courtroom froze. The clerk played it once, then again. No protests, no panic. Just the raw sound of a father speaking. Not like a parent protecting a child, but like a co-conspirator sealing a deal. Then came the final image, a massive screen lighting up with a timeline mapping every move, every text, and every dollar tied to that night at the track meet. At the center of it all, Karmelo, surrounded by dots labeled mom, dad, and wire transfer. For the last 45 minutes, Karmelo barely moved. He didn't look up. It was as if he'd mentally checked out, while his lawyers leaned in, whispering fast, maybe replaying the events of that night in their heads. What was said, what was promised. Outside, the tone of the press shifted. This wasn't being reported as a school incident anymore. Headlines now screamed multi-layered conspiracy. What had started as a story of teenage violence had transformed into the chilling narrative of a planned killing. The Metcalf family left early, faces set in quiet exhaustion. For the public, the picture was clear. The Anthony family wasn't just accused, they were cornered. And while the jury still has to speak, in the court of public opinion, the verdict is already in. This wasn't a heated moment, and it wasn't self-defense. This was something else entirely. And the last thread holding the Anthony family story together has just snapped. If you've been gripped by this case, make sure to like this video, drop your thoughts in the comments, and share it with others who need to see the truth behind the headlines. Don't forget to subscribe so you never miss an update, and I'll see you in the next video.